Breaking news: the fragile ceasefire between Hamas and Israel has peacemakers hoping it heralds the endgame of the war. John Linden, a peace builder, uses the word optimism on multiple occasions to describe his belief that the current truce between Israel and Hamas can be prolonged. A coalition of approximately 170 organizations worldwide working toward peace building, especially with Israelis and Palestinians, Linden describes the release of hostages by Hamas as silver linings. Linden is the executive director of the Alliance for Middle East Peace. An incredibly positive sign, he remarked, is the steady stream of humanitarian relief trucks into the Gaza Strip. Linden still thinks more could be done to put an end to the bloodshed. There have been moments of exhalation, but I know there are still a lot of clouds as well, Linden told USA Today on Tuesday, referencing reports of Israel and Hamas accusing each other of violating the deal that has temporarily paused fighting along the Strip as the ceasefire entered a fifth day. We're still uncertain about what's going to happen next. Following a 2-day extension of a 4-day truce in the Gaza Strip, peace builders in the Middle East and the United States are hopeful that the current developments will be fruitful and serve as a foundation for reaching lasting resolutions. This truce is hopefully the beginning of a negotiated political solution between the Israelis and Palestinians and others who are invested that can lead to the endgame, stated Gilly Getz, chair of the American Friends of Combatants for Peace, on Monday. No one is safe unless it is in place. Just one person. A break for at most 2 more days, the ex-service member thinks, Howard Stauffer, a national security professor at the University of New Haven in Connecticut and a former member of the U.S. State Department's Foreign Service, told USA Today on Wednesday that the length of time a truce can last depends on the negotiations taking place and the number of hostages that are still being released. In the near future, Stauffer expressed optimism. Stauffer, a former deputy executive director of the UN Security Council's Counterterrorism Committee Executive Directorate, stated, I don't want to dash anybody's hopes, but I think we get a pause for another day or 2 at most if things continue to go well. It has to be seamlessly integrated, Stauffer emphasized. That's a lot of pressure on the many intelligence chiefs, including the US, Egypt, Qatar and others involved with the negotiations to keep talking. At the very least, according to Stauffer, Israel is prepared to resume its military campaign via air and land operations. Gives us more hope for peace, says aid worker upon hostage release as of Tuesday afternoon, 81 hostages, including 60 Israelis and 180 Palestinian women and teenagers, had been freed as a result of the ceasefire that began on Friday. According to Israeli authorities, more than 1,200 people were killed in the raid into Israel on October 7, and militants took about 240 people hostage. The subsequent military operation in Gaza claimed the lives of an additional 77 Israeli soldiers. Over 13,000 Palestinians have lost their lives in the conflict, according to the Gaza Health Ministry. From his vantage point in Paris, Linden reported that ALMEP members have courageously persisted in their efforts to build peace despite the devastation. Linden stated that many ALMEP groups have been holding meetings both online and in person and carrying out work on the ground, in addition to demanding the release of all hostages. The first-ever Arab-Jewish Emergency Center has been established in Rahat, southern Israel, by members of ALMEP-attached Maki, Women Lawyers for Social Justice, and Desert Stars, according to Linden. The center serves both the Bedouin and Jewish communities. War has devastated many areas, and the emergency center is helping to pack and transport food and medicine to those areas. In an effort to promote peace, equality, and social justice, the Israeli Jewish Arab Movement Standing Together established a hotline to encourage Arab and Jewish solidarity and organize solidarity groups to help reduce tensions in mixed areas around the nation. The movement also convened emergency meetings with Jewish and Palestinian residents. Furthermore, there is an Israeli group known as the Road to Recovery, whose members volunteer to transport Palestinian patients, primarily children, from checkpoints in the West Bank and Gaza. Linden calls this operation life-saving. We should fight for each other's lives, Mai Shaheen, a leading activist with the nonprofit Palestinian Combatants for Peace, told USA Today on Tuesday over the phone from Bethany, a town in the West Bank. As a group, we've all experienced trauma. Let's get well side by side. According to Linden, Humanitarian aid is not sufficient, but it is more than it was a few weeks ago. There needs to be more done, and we must all do what we can to help. Releasing the hostages, increasing humanitarian aid, and potentially extending the truce are all things that Getz says gives us more hope for peace. The prospect of a protracted ceasefire causes worrying, waiting. Getz, who was involved with peace-building organizations in the U.S. and the Middle East prior to the war, expressed his concern about the past 48 hours, calling it worrying and waiting regarding the potential extension of the truce and fragile ceasefire. He maintains the hope that the current round of negotiations between Israel, Hamas, and world leaders will eventually result in a peace deal. As long as something is happening, it doesn't matter if it takes months or years. In addition, Getz is hoping that peacebuilders, who have seen firsthand how Israelis and Palestinians work to improve each other's lives, can participate in diplomatic talks. I think we all want any kind of effort that can be built to go forward, instead of the bloodshed and destruction, said Getz. At the end of the day, there has to be diplomatic solutions to bring safety and stability to the region. He continued, otherwise, it's probably impossible to end this war.